What's going on, everyone? It's your boy, Sideswipe the Boss, back at it again with another ranking. And I know it's been a minute since I've talked in one of these. Life has been interesting lately, but I am back at it again with another video, another ranking specifically. And today we are going to be talking about Star Wars: The Bad Batch. And as always with videos, if you do enjoy it, just hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And also let me know in the comment section your thoughts about The Bad Batch and if you agree with my thoughts about The Bad Batch. Any support would be very appreciated. So, The Bad Batch, the physical, spiritual, and literal successor to Star Wars: The Clone Wars. The Bad Batch started in 2021, I believe, right after the Clone Wars ended in 2020. And I'll be honest with you, I was not a big Bad Batch fan only until like recently, like especially in the final season. But I'll get to that as I talk more about the show overall. So I'm sure some of y'all, or most of y'all, know already, depending on if you follow my antics on the Bird app or not, that I am such a huge
Chief, shut the fuck up.
My bad. But such a big fan of the Clone Wars. Like, I grew up on the Clone Wars TV show, specifically the 2008 one, Clone Wars, and it was a big part of me becoming a Star Wars fan, becoming as big of a Star Wars fan that I am today. And it just means a lot to me. It means so much to me. So when it was announced that the Clone Wars would be getting a sequel show, technically, I guess, in The Bad Batch, I was pretty excited because, you know, we're going to get more content with that era of Star Wars, that animation style, and also hopefully some of the characters that we fell in love with in the Clone Wars would appear in this show, and some of them did. So I was pretty excited for The Bad Batch. That being said, I did not like it initially. So The Bad Batch is obviously about the Bad Batch, the group of clones with desirable mutations, as Cody says it, as they, you know, work their way around the galaxy post Clone Wars, post Order 66, and they find out that it's not really easy to do that, especially if you're clones that defy Order 66. And the show basically follows them as they, well, let's be real, kidnap a young clone named Omega, and they basically have endeavors around the galaxy, you know, becoming sort of like bounty hunters, I guess. Not really bounty hunters, but like, mercenaries for hire. Maybe mercenaries is a better word for it. Yeah, I'm gonna go with mercenaries. Mercenaries, you know, trying to make money, trying to survive, and also running away from the Empire, who is looking for them and Omega because they betrayed the Empire, of course. And you don't betray the Empire and get away with it. Well, people get away with it all the time, but initially you don't get away with it. I mean, it's a pretty simple premise. It's a lot more linear than the Clone Wars was. It's more in the lines of how Rebels was a linear storytelling instead of like Clone Wars was like arcs and jumping around during the Clone Wars. Even though the Clone Wars wasn't built to be a linear show, let's get that through your heads.
Something just happened.
But back to the discussion at hand. When I say I wasn't a big fan of The Bad Batch, it just didn't speak to me as prominently as the Clone Wars did. The Bad Batch kind of like took its time with the story, which also kind of led to a lot of like unnecessary filler, in my opinion, especially in season 1. Like, of course, filler is important for shows, especially shows with longer episode counts, because it gives a little break, a little pause in the main story. It can also lead to some good development for characters. But it didn't really work initially for me in The Bad Batch, because you would get like an episode of main story, some really good main story, and then like 4 or 5 episodes of them doing a job for Sid. Gosh, I hate Sid. I hate Sid so much. I think Sid is probably my least favorite Star Wars character of all time. Maybe passing Pong Krill, maybe passing Governor Price. Possibly the worst Star Wars character of all time, in my opinion. Argue with your mother.
I could drop ties in this bitch. Drop like flies in this bitch.
But that's besides the point. I just don't think season 1 was a good start to the show. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. But not great. But I will say it does improve. Then we hop into season 2, where it does kind of still have some of the same problems that season 1 had, like the unnecessary filler and the kind of lopsided development for each of the Bad Batch members. However, towards the back half of season 2, it does kind of become a tighter story where those filler episodes actually become interesting plot points in the main storyline, and some of them even come back in season 3, which was like really cool, by the way. And it all comes together in season 3, and season 3 is an excellent season of television overall. Yeah! Season 3, I don't think had any filler, or not any unnecessary filler, in my opinion. Everything connected to the main story of the show. There wasn't any Sid, thank the maker.
Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go.
The story was very tight. The animation was gorgeous. It's always an awe to see how far the animation, or specifically like the Clone Wars animation, has come, considering where it started back in 2008 to look at it now, where dirt and sand and the sunsets look so real. It's always an awe to see how far the animation has come, and it definitely shows a lot in season 3 of The Bad Batch. And overall, it's such a satisfying conclusion to the show, and I was a little worried like halfway through season 2 that they were gonna rush it, but I think for the most part they nailed everything they needed to. Of course, there's gonna be a few loose strands here and there because there's not really enough room to cover everything in like what was it, like 40-50 minutes. I think that's what the final episode was. But for the most part, I think they did a pretty good job closing the book on the Bad Batch, but also the Clone Wars era of Star Wars television. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure that we'll probably get a few references here or there in other shows in the future, like especially if like there's an Ahsoka season 2 or some other future projects that could explore more Clone Wars stuff. But for the most part, I think we're done with that era. And maybe not a great send-off, but in my opinion, a satisfying send-off to that era happened in The Bad Batch. And while I didn't start the show as a Bad Batch fan, I left the show as a Bad Batch fan. I was satisfied with the conclusion of each character's stories, and it was honestly kind of sad to see the way it ended. Like, of course, they got their happy ending. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it already, but if you haven't seen it already, why haven't you seen it already? Why are you watching this video? Get out! But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a satisfying conclusion to the narrative. And overall, I can appreciate the show overall. Maybe not where it started, but where it finished. I'm glad that it improved over time. Like, literally, you'll see in my ranking, it improved with each season. And I appreciate a show that evolves over time instead of, peaking too early like some other shows I watch. I won't name names at the moment. But overall, I would say The Bad Batch is a pretty solid show. And I will say, it's kind of sad to see it go because it's an end to The Bad Batch, but it's also possibly the end to the Clone Wars era of Star Wars television and Star Wars animation. And it was a pretty satisfying conclusion, if it was. So that was my little retrospective on The Bad Batch, what it means to me and stuff like that. So now it's time to get into the actual ranking of the seasons of The Bad Batch. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about The Bad Batch. Do you agree with my rankings? Do you hope that there's going to be another Clone Wars era show, maybe after The Bad Batch? or around that time, maybe, I guess. Just let me know all that in the comment section down below. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.
We're all you need.
I want Clone Force 99 found and wiped out.
The galaxy's a dangerous place to be.
We need to get out of here. What do you say, kid? You want to come with us?
How can I help?
The Clone Wars have ended. You can either adapt and survive, or die with the past. The decision is yours.
We do what we do. Rumors are more and more clones have been questioning the Order.
Then they're traitors, like the Jedi.
You all gave up everything because of me.
We made the right choice, Omega. But there are others out there who need our help.
What sort of treachery is this?
Stay back!
We are not the enemy. The Empire seeks to establish peace and order throughout the galaxy.
Peace. Peace was never an option.
We're soldiers. We do it.
Our mission is not over yet.
There is nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire. Whatever is needed to accomplish this goal, you will have it.
They are coming. For all of you. Give us a real challenge. Everyone down! We're not big on following orders.